of the Magistrates Court that Matlala is a flight risk, specifically where it was stated that Matlala has both the means and the potential opportunity to evade trial. In order for Matlala to be granted bail, the court must be convinced that his release is in the interest of justice. But Judge du Plessis has ruled that the interest of justice won't be served by his release. Khomoza Modise, Eyewitness News.
Staying in the courts, a former preschool teacher found guilty of the rape and murder of her boyfriend's child is back in the Johannesburg High Court for sentencing proceedings. Emily Hughes killed and sexually assaulted 4-year-old Nada Chalita in 2023. In August, the Johannesburg High Court found that Hughes planned to kill the little girl. Ntokozo Khumalo has more.
After 2 years of proceedings and many delays, Emily Hughes' sentencing is finally at sight. The parents of the little girl say nothing can bring their child back. Hughes drowned the little girl in a bathtub in their home in 2023. The preschool teacher was in a relationship with the child's father at the time. In August, Judge Richard Makadela stated that Hughes had not only wasted the court's time with a false testimony, but caused unnecessary trauma for the child's family. The NPA says it will be arguing for maximum sentencing. Ntokozo Khumalo, Eyewitness News, Johannesburg.
We move to the capital, where the South African Police Service's head of Ballistics, Brigadier Mishek Mkhabela, has revealed that his department is critically understaffed. Mkhabela, an SAPS ballistics expert, is testifying before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, which is investigating allegations of corruption within the police service and the judiciary. He's expected to provide evidence on how the murder weapons used in the killing of vereniging engineer Armand Swart were linked to other high-profile assassinations. His department analyzed the cartridges recovered from the scene of Armand Swart's murder, whose company exposed how a firm linked to Katiso KT Molefe fraudulently secured a Transnet contract. Mkhabela says the SAPS ballistics unit is currently functioning with only 3 ballistics analysts.
Other members resign or they go for greener pastures, they leave, we don't replace them. So eventually we end up in this environment where we are, where we have so limited members that can work on the system.
Do I understand your response to mean that at some point you did have enough numbers, but that the numbers dwindled with time?
That is correct, Commissioners.
The ANC Nakuruleni has defended the city's decision to expropriate a privately owned piece of land without compensation, saying the move aims to correct past racial injustices. It's been 6 years since the 34-hectare property was expropriated in Boksburg in the east of Johannesburg, triggering a legal dispute over compensation in what is likely to go down as a defining case on property rights in the country. The city has justified the expropriation by arguing the land has not been used for any economic activity. It says it wants to use the expropriated land to develop social housing. ANC Regional Secretary Jongizizwe Tlabati says the metro is simply implementing the core policies of the organization, which leads the current coalition in the country.
Why should the government of the day pay for that particular land if that land can actually be used to benefit the broader masses of our communities in Ekurhuleni?
However, Freedom Front Plus leader Corne Mulder begs to differ.
Yes, it's a laudable idea. Obviously, we need to have property development in terms of creating housing for people that need that we need to do. But quite clearly, this is an attempt by the ANC to bring a test case. And they want to show that property can be expropriated for zero compensation.
The Transport Department has set an ambitious target to move 600 million rail passengers by 2030 as part of a broader strategy to revitalize South Africa's rail and freight logistics systems through private sector partnerships. The department says it hopes to restore efficiency, reliability and competitiveness in the transport of both passengers and goods. While government would maintain public ownership of core infrastructure, the move would open the door for private investment to improve efficiency. A memorandum of agreement between the Transport Department, the Development Bank of Southern Africa and National Treasury has already been signed. Transport Minister Barbara Creasy.
The PSP unit is in the process of being capacitated and will be ready to commence with the conceptualization of bid windows and the development of requests for proposals.
She says the first phase has already attracted 162 responses, including responses from 12 countries outside South Africa.
Interested and affected parties will be prompted to register their details before accessing the RFI analysis report on freight transport.
Gold's trading at $4,041.21 an ounce. The rand's at 17.21 to the dollar, at 22.98 to the pound, at 20.04 to the euro. Brent crude oil at $65.33 a barrel.
In Tembisa, heading towards Pretoria, there's an accident scene R21 northbound before Olifantsfontein Road, causing about a 30-minute delay. In Selby, leaving the Joburg CBD, also bumper-to-bumper traffic M2 westbound between the Crown Interchange and Main Reef Road.
A look at your weather. A cloudy day in Gauteng this afternoon with scattered isolated showers and thunder showers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs between 27 and 29 degrees. In the mother city, it's clear skies this afternoon, along with moderate northwesterly winds at a high of 20 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. The Johannesburg High Court has agreed with a magistrate's court that alleged crime boss Wismusi Cat Matlala is a flight risk.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. You're with Mandy Wiener on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. Think bigger, think Nedbank Commercial Banking. On the show today, Cat Matlala denied bail. The courts find him a flight risk again. The Ballistics head testifies at the Matlala inquiry. Tenderdon Morgan Maumela's 52 million rand hypercar. Busi Mabuso on what we've learned from being on the fat of grey list. And we'll wrap up the weekend sport. All of that over the next hour.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app. DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Report on 702 and Cape Talk with me, Mandy Wiener. Good to be with you today. We'll find out more about that story that Jeff Wicks has written in News 24 about Morgan Maumela's 52 million rand hypercar. Can you imagine spending 52 million rand on a car? And all of his cars, the entire fleet, is the same color, the azure blue color. And that actually happened after Babita Deokaran was killed. So can you imagine the psychology, like the pathology of somebody who sees Babita Deokaran being killed and then thinks, I'm going to take all of the money, allegedly, that was looted from Tembisa Hospital and spend it on a 52 million rand hypercar. It's just wild to think about that. So we'll speak to Jeff Wicks a bit later on in the show about that. And also, great news that South Africa is off the fat of grey list. A huge amount of work being done by the FIC, by Treasury, by all kinds of people. I've heard lots of insider accounts of how much work went into getting us off that grey list. And it made it more onerous to do business with South Africa. There were so many more hoops that you had to jump through. So that's huge news in terms of foreign direct investment and what it means for our economy. So something to celebrate in South Africa. You can send us a WhatsApp voice note 072 702 1702 072 567 1567. Well, let's start with the news out of the courts this morning. The Joburg High Court agreeing with the Magistrates Court that alleged crime boss Vusimusi Cat Matlala is a flight risk. The court handing down that judgment today, dismissing Matlala's bail appeal, and this was after the Alexandra Magistrates Court ruled that he was not eligible for bail. Khomotso Modise, EWN reporter, following that for us. Khomotso, in our Joburg studio, welcome. Talk us through that judgment.
Well, Mandy, there were two issues at play here. The first one really was whether it would be in the interest of justice to release Wismusi Cat Matlala on bail. And we see from this judgment that Judge du Plessis is not convinced. And he takes from the judgment from the Alexandra Magistrates Court, where it was highlighted some of the factors that relate to Matlala, the fact that he's believed to have interests abroad, the fact that he had a bogus Eswatini ID, which he'd asked his wife for a picture of, the fact that he was found with a cell phone in the prison cell during that raid at the Khosi Mampuru prison. So all of those factors really are being considered here. And the judge saying that he cannot disagree with the magistrate's court, that, quite frankly, he is a flight risk. But also, we saw the issues around the schedules. And I tried to explain this the last time we had a conversation, Mandy, the fact that initially in the Alexandra Magistrate's Court, his bail was dealt with as a Schedule 6 offence. And the onus is a little different when we deal with a Schedule 6 offence. The onus then becomes on the accused to prove exceptional circumstances for his release on bail. But his lawyers then, brought it up in the High Court to say, in fact, his schedule is a Schedule 5 because he's charged with attempted murder. And so it's a Schedule 5 offence. And so the onus, while it still lies with him as an accused to prove his eligibility for bail, but it's not to prove exceptional circumstances as it is with the Schedule 6. And so his lawyers were then saying that it was unfair. How his bail was adjudicated was really unfair, and he was expected to do more than what is required by law. But the court is not convinced by this. They say even though there may have been a misdirecting of the onus a bit from the magistrate's court, how it was applied is still correct. And so it was found that he's failed to prove that it's in the interest of justice, which is then the standard for a Schedule 5 offence. So ultimately, the High Court says, you failed to prove that you are an ideal candidate for bail, and so bail has been denied.
So very much a technical argument there when it comes to the schedules. Because if you look at the merits of it, I mean, he's got a foreign passport, essentially. He's got an account in Mauritius. He had a cell phone in his jail cell. On what basis did he possibly think he would get bail?
Yeah. On top of that, Mandy, and this is something that I found to be rather glaring for me, and I was wondering why it wasn't spoken about a lot in the High Court. According to the state, we heard in the Alexandra Magistrates Court that Matlala had travelled to Eswatini last year, and there was a stamp in his passport, and it was reflecting on Home Affairs records that he's in Eswatini. But there is no record of him returning to South Africa. So according to Home Affairs, he is still in Eswatini, and prosecutors were saying it's clear that he entered the country illegally somehow. The inference that was being made was that he may have gone to Eswatini, but then maybe never crossed the border, and he just returned back. Of course, the argument by the state and prosecutors is that he's been doing, dodgy dealings between Eswatini and South Africa, and so I found it so crazy that this man on record and on paper is not even in South Africa. Our records are showing him being in Eswatini. And that's what the state was trying to prove in Alexandra, that clearly this, this accused is able to circumvent systems, to bypass systems, to move around and become undetected. And it seems that the High Court has seen that, highlighted it, and they agree with the Magistrates Court.
So what now for Kat Matlala?
So now he needs to have his cases all combined. We know that he's got about 11, I believe it's 11 attempted murder cases against him, different counts of attempted murder. And the state tried to go into some of them just to say, there was a murder in 2023, a couple in 2023, I believe, another in 2022. So all of those need to be combined and centralized, and then he should be tried. I believe it will be in the Johannesburg High Court. And while that process happens, and it can be a rather lengthy process, he'll be behind bars.
Khomotso, thank you so much. Khomotso Modise, EWN reporter, joining us in studio there, speaking to us about that decision. Kat Matlala being denied bail, the High Court confirming the decision of the lower court, the Magistrates Court, that he is indeed a flight risk.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently.
12:16 on the Midday Report. Let's go to the Madlanga inquiry now that's continuing at the Bridget Mabandla Justice Centre in Tshwane. And today, the head of Ballistics from the SAPS is on the stand, giving evidence there, speaking about the capabilities of the Ballistics Centre, retaining staff, scarce skills as well. Alpha Ramashwana, EWN reporter, is following that story for us. Alpha, take us through the testimony today.
Good afternoon, Mandy. I think today we're beginning to get a sense of what happens during some of the investigations in the South African Police Service, and the head of Ballistics really telling us that his department is severely understaffed. He says that he has 3 ballistic analysts who have to go through about 28,000 images each and every single day. And in one day, they are able to do about 200 images, analyze 200 images per day. And it just shows how understaffed the South African Police Service is, particularly the Ballistics division. He says that the backlog is about 28,000 cases that they need to deal with. And in one day, they are only able to do a handful of cases. And he says that the reason they're so understaffed is because of many issues, many challenges, including budgetary constraints, including an instruction from his higher ups not to hire more staff personnel. So it's really giving us a clear picture of what is happening in the Ballistics division. Remember, they analyze cartridges and firearms and other evidence recovered from crime scenes, and they did so with the murder case of DJ Sambodi, Armand Swart, and DJ Vintos. And he revealed today that 24 firearms, the firearms linked to DJ Sambodi's murder have been linked to 24 other cases. So murder cases, CIT bombings, carjacking, robbery, attempted murder, 24 cases linked to the hitman who allegedly killed DJ Sambodi. So those are some of the things that he had to say today. But really, he's been talking about how his department and his division is understaffed and they are unable to assist the investigators to deal and close some of these cases. Let's take a listen to what he had to say about that.
Naturally, with time, other members resign or they go for greener pastures, they leave, we don't replace them. So eventually we end up in this environment where we are, where we have so limited members that can work on the system. In some, for example, in Port Elizabeth, I think they are only left with 3 members that are working on at IBIS, and they are doing everything, just the only 3 of them.
Do I understand your response to mean that at some point you did have enough numbers per workstation, but that the numbers dwindled with time?
That is correct, Commissioners.
That is alarming. It's terrifying to think of that. Alpha, what is the purpose of this testimony?
So what they're trying to do is to link the murder of Armand Swart, the engineer in Vereeniging who was killed in April last year. His company had blew the lid on how Katiso KT Mulefe's company, or a company linked to Katiso KT Mulefe, scored a tender with Transnet irregularly through means of corruption, and how prices were massively, severely inflated in that tender. They're trying to link that murder case of Armand Swart to DJ Sambodi's murder, to DJ Vintos' murder, and he's expected to outline how exactly they managed to link those cases. So really what he has told us this morning is that 24 cases are linked to the hitman who killed Armand Swart, and those cases include that of DJ Sambodi and DJ Vintos. He's expected to give us a detailed account throughout the course of the day of how exactly they managed to get to that conclusion.
Alpha, thank you so much. Alpha Ramashwana, EWN reporter, speaking there about that testimony. Think about that, 24 cases. So essentially what we had was a hit squad that was roaming around, at least one, because the ballistics tells us that these various cases were all linked. The Armand Swart case, the DJ Sambodi case, like that's DJ Vintos case. That's terrifying to think that that was happening. And then you couple that with the capabilities of the ballistics department, or lack thereof, and how understaffed and incapable they seem to be of doing any of the work that is required to deal with violent crime. Well, let's take a listen in now to what's happening live at the Matlala inquiry.
Go into the microscope and look and see and write what they see and sign a separate comparison microscope form. If they all agree in terms of the results, then the analyst will proceed in his office and compile a Section 212 affidavit in terms of the Criminal Procedure Act, and take it for typing, or type it himself. And once the report is commissioned as a statement, then he will take the entire case file to an independent case review. The case review is to check quality. They will tick, they've got a checklist that they tick what they are happy with. If they are not happy with the examination, if there are typos, technical, they check technical and administrative review. If they are not happy, they will return the case file to the analysts to go and make corrections. Until they are satisfied, they will then sign and mark that case as a case that meets the standard procedure. And then they will finalize the case on the FSL system and close it. From there, the case will take another route to the case management, where the exhibit will be dispatched to the stations and the case file will be archived at the lab. So
that's Mishak Mkabela, who's the head of ballistics at the SAPS, giving testimony at the Matlala inquiry into the capabilities and the shortages in ballistics expertise at the SAPS. Real growth needs more than just banking, and Nedbank Commercial Banking is your growth partner. Their team of industry experts understand your business and its potential, offering insight to help you see opportunity where others see obstacles. Because when you can see what others don't, you can do what others can't. Think bigger. Think Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently. Nedbank is a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Here at Betway, we're finding every way possible to make sure you can win your next sports bet. With our new Bet Saver feature, you could get your stake back or more on bets with multiple losses. Stand to win, even when your bet misses. Bet Saver, exclusive to Betway. Terms and conditions apply. Betway is licensed and regulated by the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board. No persons under the age of 18 are permitted to gamble. South African Responsible Gambling Program toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710. Winners know when to stop.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car on the way to the hospital carrying an elderly couple, playfully bantering about who their first grandchild will look like. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic. It's bringing two generations together. Every story's different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
WhatsApp Mandy
on 072 702 1702.
So, Biggie was very flippant, very nonchalant last week about spending time at Matlala's house late last year, while this man was facing attempted murder charges as far back as 2022-2023. And Biggie was flippant and nonchalant about these and spending time at this man's house last week. I think he just gave us the middle finger.
Hi, Mandy. One thing I've learned in my 17 years experience in the motor industry is that people are now hiding away money in assets, and how they're doing that, they would purchase limited edition vehicles or even vehicles that are very, very scarce, or ones that there is only a limited number that are produced, like Boitumelo has been able to do with that 52 million supercar. So what they do, they get money out of their bank account so that they get it into assets like luxury vehicles and so on.
Yep, money laundering through expensive vehicles is nothing new, but this is a new level, it seems. Angwani Morgan Boitumelo, through a syndicate of more than 40 shell companies, extracted 820 million rand from Tembisa Hospital. And what did he do? Well, he spent his loot on a collection of cars, amongst them a 52 million rand, I can't even pronounce it, Pagani Huayra Roadster, one of the rarest cars in the world. Jeff Wicks, investigative journalist from News 24, has written the story and joins us now. Jeff, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time today. Firstly, help me with the pronunciation there, because I've never owned a Pagani Huayra.
Yes, no. Hi, Mandy. I too struggle to pronounce it because, as a journalist, it's far beyond my hopes and dreams of ever owning a car like that. But it's a Pagani Huayra Roadster, one of only 100 in the world and only 2 in South Africa. So it is the epitome of automotive beauty, and obviously the price tag is commensurate with the handmade quality.
So tell us what we know and what you've been able to establish about the purchase or non-purchase in the end of this vehicle.
Well, so from what we understand is that Mr. Matlala paid a sum of 52,200,000 rand towards the purchase of this vehicle. However, it was never actually placed in his name, and that's owing to specification changes and modifications that he'd requested after buying the car. And chief among them was obviously changing the color strip. It's in its original form. It was in the Italian tricolor colors. And after Mr. Matlala purchased it, he obviously had the desire, as with all his other supercars, to have it in the same shade of blue. And because of that and other additional costs like redoing the leather interior in a different color of leather, it occasioned further costs, which he then reneged on the deal, and the car has now been sold on to another buyer.
Tell us about the timeline. When exactly did he decide to purchase this vehicle? It was after Babita Deokaran had been killed.
Several months after Babita Deokaran died. From our research, we understand it was about 2 months after she was killed. And that sort of coincides with his proxy network's heyday at Tembisa Hospital. That was when they were at the peak of their extraction. And essentially, which is part of the reason why Babita was able to cotton on to what they were doing, because the spending patterns were so out of sync with other hospitals. She noticed the anomaly and reported it. She ended up dead a couple of days later. But the companies that Matlala steered in his own name and those through proxy directors continued to make money for nearly a year and a half, along with other syndicates at Tembisa, up until midway through 2022 when the SIU finally came involved.
So the SIU is involved. They are investigating. We saw them seizing a whole lot of other azure blue vehicles from Morgan Maumela's home recently. Has he been actually criminally charged, and why not?
So as we understand, he faces no criminal charges currently. And why not? I mean, that's the best question. We need to understand why. These asset preservations are usually a precursor to criminal action, but none of that has been forthcoming as yet. And it is certainly disquieting because, by our measure, he should face several hundred counts of fraud in respect of the contract at Tembisa Hospital. The SIU has said as much, and it now falls to the NPA to provide the nation with a draft indictment.
Have they said anything about this, the NPA, as to why, or the police, as to why he has not yet been charged?
No, they've not, Mandy. But I mean, if we just recall the manner in which Babita Deokaran's murder investigation was handled, we don't foresee much success in that respect yet.
Jeff Wicks, thank you very much, investigative journalist at News 24, speaking to us. There, go read that story today. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. If you think about the fact that 52 million rand was paid for this Italian hypercar with money that was supposed to go to Tembisa Hospital. 12:30, time for Eyewitness News headlines.
Thanks, Mandy. Good afternoon. Gauteng police have arrested the second suspect who was wanted for the Bronkhorstspruit Tavern shooting earlier this month. The second suspect linked to the mass shooting that claimed 5 lives was arrested on Friday. 6 other people sustained injuries after 2 armed men opened fire at a local tavern. 4 firearms linked to the murder of Vereniging engineer Armand Swart have been linked to 24 other criminal cases. This was revealed by the South African Police Service's head of Ballistics, Brigadier Mkhabela, during his testimony before the Matlala Commission of Inquiry today. The weapons were seized from one of Swart's alleged hitmen following his murder in Bramley in April last year. Swart's company had exposed how a firm linked to Katiso KT Molefe fraudulently secured a Transnet tender. And President Cyril Ramaphosa has expressed concern about violations of the ceasefire between Israel and Gaza amid continued attacks on the occupied Palestinian territories. He's appealed to the international community to make every effort to ensure the peace deal leads to Palestinian statehood and self-determination. Those are the headlines. This Eyewitness News and more at 1 o'clock or as it happens.
EWN Sport.
Good afternoon, I'm Tolagele Mganga. Themba Bavuma's fit again and will captain the Proteas in their 2-test series against India next month. Shukri Conrad has ex-Pernal Sobrian and David Bedingham for the 15-man squad, which includes 3 frontline spinners in Keshav Maharaj, Simon Harmer and Suren Mutinsami.
I think we're in a fortunate position that we can pick horses for courses. The guys that did duty in Pakistan in the test matches have shown what they're capable of, and a case can be made for all of them to be researched selected. And the reason why they got selected ahead of David was because I feel that in these conditions, they'll be more effective. Doesn't mean that it's the end of the road for David.
Australia will be without captain Pat Cummins for the first Ashes test against England, with Steve Smith set to lead the side. Cummins has been suffering with a back injury, but he returned to bowling in the nets. The Baggy Greens are optimistic that he'll be available for the second test, which starts on the 4th of December. Switching over to the curling, where Golden Arrows and Richards Bay have advanced to the semi-finals. That follows wins over TS Galaxy and Durban City, respectively. While in the CAF Champions League, Mamelodi Sundowns are through to the group stages following a 7-1 aggregate win over Remo Stars, while Orlando Pirates lost out on penalties to St. Eloi Lupopo. In the Confed Cup, both Stellenbosch and Kaizer Chiefs are through to the pool stages. Cedric Kaze's side found their scoring boots as they ran out 3-1 second-leg winners over Simba.
I'm very optimistic because we know what we have to do. We know that a game of football, you need to score goals when you create so many opportunities, and we're gonna build from the momentum from this performance. Because as well, today wasn't only the goals, but even the performance was quite good.
Tolagele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage in Tembisa, heading towards Pretoria, there's an accident scene, R21 northbound before Olifantsfontein Road. This is causing about a 30-minute delay. Also in Selby, that's leaving the Joburg CBD bumper-to-bumper traffic on the M2 westbound between the Crown Interchange and Main Reef Road. Kelvin Roadwork still causing some delays. N3 northbound between London Road and the Patlu Interchange. Also look out for those faulty traffic lights in Edenville, Morafontein Road and Van Riebeck. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You can become a victim of a legal problem: wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental dispute, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
What do partners of the Gates Foundation do when facing the world's toughest challenges? They keep going. From discovering a plastic drape that helps detect excessive postpartum bleeding faster, to developing better bed nets to kill malaria-carrying mosquitoes, to researching an RSV vaccine that could save hundreds of thousands of children. For every problem, there are people who prove that progress is possible. The Gates Foundation, partners of human potential. Learn more at gatesfoundation.org/keep going.
Access to the internet is vital for any country to grow. That's why the recent 6.75 billion rand digital infrastructure deal that Standard Bank Corporate and Investment Banking facilitated between Telkom and an Actis-led consortium is so transformational for South Africa. It unlocks growth and provides internet access to underserved communities who will now have access to the internet for the very first time. Search CIB Stories of Impact to watch the full story.
Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
WhatsApp Mandy
on 072-702-1702.
Hello, Mandy. I'm just wondering, with regards to this Morgan Maimela guy, where is SARS in all of this? With somebody who is displaying such wealth, is there no investigation? Is there nothing? Is he paying his taxes? What is going on? You know how SARS harasses small to medium enterprises, people doing legitimate business. Like, I'm a doctor in private practice. I could never even, SARS would never even let me miss out on my VAT, on my provisional, on anything. But these guys, how are they able to get away with all of that? Should that not have flagged something? Wow. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much. I think I absolutely agree with you there that there should be red flags that come up much earlier. And I imagine SARS has been looking at this, but we just don't necessarily know about it because they don't disclose that kind of information. On the WhatsApp line, I'm certain that the Madlanga Commission was established to uncover the core issues, and based on the revelations by the Ballistics Brigadier today, it is evident that urgent action is required. SAPS has become a crime scene. And then Alan says, I believe Tembisa Hospital hospital should be renamed Babita Diakoran. She was a brave whistleblower who was murdered because of this. Thank you very much. Lots of messages coming through. Responding to the conversations we've been having. Well, when you think about how much money was siphoned off of Tembisa Hospital and from the coffers of the Department of Health, it makes you wonder when you read a story like the one in the Sunday Times yesterday about Boitumelo Township in Everton in the south of Joburg, where a 20 million rand wall has been built, but residents there have been waiting 15 years for a healthcare facility, for a clinic. So it was meant to be the Boitumelo Clinic, a beacon of hope for more than 6,000 households. But actually, it's an abandoned construction site and a disappointment. The perimeter wall of the clinic has been built, but not much else. Well, let's speak to a local councillor in the area, Kingsall Shabalala, who's the DA Mfuleni North constituency head, about this. Kingsall, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time. Give us the brief history here and what the expectations were of the community and what they needed and what they got.
Okay, good day, Mandy. Good day to the 702 listeners. And also thank you for giving us an opportunity to expand further on the issue of a Boitumelo clinic. I think the project, the conceptualization of the project, started around 2010, and then around 2015-16 financial year, the department started pouring money on the project, and to date, almost 20 million has been spent and paid to 3 different service providers. Yet the community of Boitumelo still does not have a clinic. The only thing that could be shown for that 20 million that was spent is just an incomplete wall. And what makes this situation sad is the fact that the current clinic that is servicing the community of Boitumelo, it is very small. It cannot accommodate the entire population of Boitumelo, even the waiting area. Even in harsh weather conditions, patients who are ill have to wait outside in the scorching sun or in the rain. And one of the things the MEC is citing is that the project stopped because there was community unrest. I think the MEC is just misleading the community of Boitumelo. It cannot be that the community requested a clinic and then they can go on and then start community unrest to stop the clinic. I think the clinic stopped because of local ANC structures who were demanding subcontracting jobs in order to participate. And also, what also the MEC is saying again is citing the issue of budget. We know that the department continues to return money to the treasury. We know the department continues to waste its financial resources on things that do not even amount to giving a health services. So we are saying is the Department of Health has actually failed the people of Boitumelo. Even
What about this issue of public unrest that they're saying that this is to blame for the project's failure?
I mean, as I indicated, that it cannot be. There was no public unrest. I mean, the only thing that the community did, it was when the project was starting to go to the site and submit their CVs. I think the people who are sabotaging the project are ANC community leaders through local business forums who want to benefit from this contract. As I indicated, that the community has been complaining, saying they need a clinic because a clinic that is there currently is not conducive. So yes, it cannot be that the community would have stopped the project, and the MEC is misleading the residents of Boitumelo.
Kingsall, thank you very much. Kingsall Shabalala, the DA Mfuleni North constituency head, speaking to us there about that clinic in Boitumelo in Everton that has been left in limbo. That story appearing in the Sunday Times yesterday. It just makes you think about how the health department's money should and could be spent.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently.
Big and important news coming through on Friday afternoon that South Africa has been removed finally from the Financial Action Task Force grey list. A huge amount of work going into getting us off that grey list from Treasury, from the FIC, from all sorts of players, and so important when it comes to doing business with South Africa. Well, what lessons have we learned? How do we make sure this doesn't happen again? Busi Mavuso is the CEO of Business Leadership South Africa and joins us now. Busi, good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for your time. Some important lessons for us here. We've been on the task list, the grey list since 2022. We had to do a lot of work to get off it. How do we stay off it?
Mandy, good afternoon, and thank you very much for the invitation. So I think the clear lessons that we have learned was that we clearly had accountability. We knew who was supposed to do what, when, and who were going to hold accountable, and I think that was very important. Number two, there was collaboration between government and business. You know, banks and other accountable institutions worked very closely with the committee that was actually set up, the interdepartmental committee that was set up, allocating resources to support the training of criminal investigators and other interventions. And thirdly, you know, there was a serious sustained effort by law enforcement. So when you look at what the Hawks, the state security agency, the NPA did, they demonstrated sustained increases in investigations and prosecutions of serious and complex money laundering and terror financing. And I think the fourth one was there was serious technical excellence of regulators. The FIC, which is the Financial Intelligence Center, the Reserve Bank, the Financial Sector Conduct Authorities, you know, SAPS and other agencies seriously upgraded their systems and made sure, you know, that they apply effective sanctions, you know, and they ensured timely access to beneficial ownership and information. And lastly, there was transparency and regular reporting. So I really think that it shows you that South Africa, when it comes to issues where we need to come together to solve for some of our challenges, like we did, for instance, with the energy crisis, we normally rise to the challenge. But it's interesting for me, Mandy, because when you look at this horror movie that is currently in circuit called the Matlala Commission, it shows you just how much we actually needed this. So what happened, you know, with the FATF intervention was actually necessary because, Mandy, there was serious, deliberate undermining of the commercial investigation, you know, commercial crime investigation and prosecution institutions. We see through the Matlala Commission how we had handed over. It's not like the criminal syndicates had hijacked our criminal justice system. And Mandy, we willingly handed over our criminal justice system to criminal syndicates. So this needed to happen. We needed to put interventions in place. We needed to rebuild these capabilities. We needed to actually ensure, you know, that we are held to account to make sure that this doesn't happen again. So it was a necessary intervention, and I'm glad, you know, that South Africa managed to get out of the FATF grey listing in just 32 months.
Busi, as you point out, we have to be very honest about why we found ourselves in the grey list in the first place. And this was a direct consequence of the state capture era. This was the price that we paid for that destruction. So this is such a South African approach where we allow things to fall apart and then, suddenly we realize what we're actually capable of. We all pull together. Everyone works wonderfully together and we get ourselves off the list. But how do we ensure that we don't allow ourselves to get back on the list again?
You know, Mandy, I'm sure I've said this 1,000 times before. All of this rises and falls on the strength of leadership. Mandy, until and unless we're serious about putting the right political leaders in place, we'll continue to face these challenges. Because it was the political leadership at the time that actually allowed, you know, the criminal syndicates, the undermining of state institutions, the state capture. Remember, the state capture was a deliberate intervention to loot, to steal, to weaken the state institutions and the state-owned entities. And they obviously then stole money, removed capable people who knew what they were doing, and they replaced them, with the cronies that they actually put in place, which were actually going to allow this malfeasance to happen. So unless and until you put ethical leaders, unless and until you put leaders, who know what they are doing, leaders who are competent, leaders who have got the best interest of South Africa at heart, unless and until we do that, we are continue to have these recurring challenges. Because then if you remove one unethical leader and you replace them with the other one, then this continues. So we have to rid ourselves of the remnants, of this political leadership that is actually not up to scratch, and who actually doesn't foot the bill. I looked at it and I'm thinking in terms of what's happening in the Matlala Commission. These are the remnants of the state capture project. We're sitting here saying the state capture project is over. It's not. Mandy, far from it. It shows you how deep, how wide, and how high the state capture project had actually gone. So unless and until you bring political leaders who are actually going to go to the bottom of this, to the heights of this, to the widths of this, to actually eradicate completely the remnants of the state capture project, we're going to continue sitting with these problems. But anyway, in terms of what we need to do, we've already outlined. We know what needs to be done. But that can only be done, when you have the right people who are serious about putting these interventions in place. And it was good that National Treasury was actually put at the helm. They're the ones who actually chaired the interdepartmental committee that coordinated this process. I remember Momo was actually put in charge, even when he retired at National Treasury, he was kept on to continue to actually oversee that process. And through their intervention, through their holding, their sister agencies in government accountable, they managed, to actually get us out of the grey listing in just 32 months, which is absolutely commendable.
It's always such a pleasure to chat to you, Pusi Bavuso, CEO of Business Leadership South Africa, speaking to us there on the lessons that have been learned from getting us off the Financial Action Task Force grey list. Big and important news for us. And on the WhatsApp line, let me find this message. Mandy, good afternoon, Mandy. Good news about South Africa getting off the grey list. Pity that our criminals are buying exotic cars to launder ill-gotten money. Silver lining, our criminals have an exquisite taste. Maybe they'll be diversifying into stolen art next. Have a great day. But this is exactly what needed to be done in terms of getting off the FATF grey list, was that we actually had to tighten up our money laundering controls because we didn't have sufficient money laundering controls. So let's hope that we don't see this kind of washing through buying azure blue exotic cars in the future.
Tani Esther, or should I say the Tupperware Tani? How's business going?
Business is booming. I've been operating out of the boot of my car for 10 years, but shame, it couldn't keep up with my growing empire.
Okay, so you sold it to We Buy Cars?
Yes, quick. Sold my old one, bought a bigger one. I even sold some of my Tupperware to the friendly guy who picked up my car.
Stick to what you know best, eh, Tani?
Excuse me?
Never mind. We Buy Cars. Geared for your business, geared for you.
Joburg businesses, this is it. The Prime Media Prime Impact Sales Event is here, 3 to 7 November.
Register now and get a free demo commercial revealed live at the event, a tailored campaign for your business, and access to exclusive annual partnerships.
Prime Media is SA's leading media company with the audience reach and products to grow your brand.
Seats are nearly gone. Register today at primeimpact.co.za.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a shift worker making his way home and daydreaming about his next career move, his next chapter. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's a possible light bulb moment that could change someone's life. Every story is different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
WhatsApp Mandy
on 072 702 1702.
Hi, Mandy. I think the whole criminal network extends not just into the banking environment, SARS. The network is so intricated within society that you can do anything with these criminal people. I mean, Even the car coming into this country should have flagged something on the imports.
Good morning, Mandy. For me, I've lost confidence in these bodies. I mean, the grey listing. If you look at the countries that have been taken off the grey listing, I would really like to understand how they do it, because I mean, for instance, Nigeria has been taken off the grey listing, and some of the countries that are still being grey listed, they don't deserve to be there. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all those WhatsApp voice notes on the WhatsApp line. Mandy, sadly, the high-level police, justice and political corruption issue exposes just how deep and extensive corruption and theft run in the ANC and the government. The fish rots and stinks from the head down. Sadly, SA voters have gotten the government they voted for, and it's destroying our beautiful country. And then Job with a long message here. I won't read the whole thing. Good day, Mandy. Hope you're enjoying police school today as much as I am. Here's what I learned from the ballistics crash course underway so far. The integrated ballistics identification system, which the police use, is a brilliant tool in and of itself. And when the brigadier started this police forensic work, he said Pretoria Central had only one safe to keep recovered illegal firearms. Today, even a repurchased museum has run out of space to store them. Let that sink in. Thank you very much for all those messages.
Sports Wrap.
Sports Wrap.
On 702 and Cape Talk.
Let's wrap up the sporting week with Mwanda Mateza, who joins us in studio. There's so many smart messages here from people about Orlando Pirates. Keith, of course, adding to that as he always does. Yeah, Pirates, just remember the CAF Champions League trophy is not the same as the MTN trophy.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Mandy. That's obviously going to be the stick that people beat Pirates with for the coming weeks, especially also when the group stages of the CAF Champions League get underway in earnest. But yeah, I actually thought they did really, really well, because going into it, I gave them absolutely no chance of getting anywhere close to the group stage of the CAF Champions League. And in the end, they came within a penalty kick of it. So I think that's somewhat commendable. And also, for my mind as well, Osman most especially for stepping up in the way that he did and scoring that third goal that took the tie to penalties as well. He's a very big name player for all the big games, the big occasions. Osman is going to show up. And I thought that was quite commendable. And I think it augurs well as well for South Africa's chances going into AFCON, because you need South African teams playing in African competitions. And you saw in the way that a lot of the players seemed almost, I wouldn't say intimidated, but not overawed either, but I can't find the word for it. But the Sentinel Limpopo players against Pirates didn't come there to play football. They came there to frustrate them. They came there to play mind games. They came to do dirty, underhanded tactics at times as well. And I mean, there was some of that as well from Pirates in not letting them get into the stadium on time as well. But it's one of those things that the gamesmanship that you have to deal with and learn that happens on the African continent. And they miss out in the end, not having that.
Arsenal making the most of a Liverpool and Man City losses during the weekend.
Yeah, another big victory for Arsenal. That's 4 in a row for them now. And it's crazy to think that 4 matches ago, Arsenal were 5 points behind Liverpool, who ended up losing once again. For Liverpool, though, I do think that they're missing Alisson. Their goalkeeper is a definite big miss. And also Ryan Gravenberch in the middle there. They seem like a team that is out of sorts at the moment, but I'm not buying the story that they're on a rebuild after spending £400 million on new players, because some of their players are Premier League tested and proven already. It is exposing a little bit of a soft underbelly under coach Arne Slot at the moment. So it'll be interesting how they get to recover from this, but they've got some tough matches coming up next. They play Aston Villa, who ended up beating Manchester City yesterday, and then they also play Manchester City before the November international break. So that's going to be still some very interesting matches happening in the Premier League between now and mid-November.
The Proteas women are playing a World Cup semi-final on Wednesday, but they didn't do too well this weekend.
No, they ended up losing by 7 wickets to Australia, and the 2 matches that they've lost in the round-robin stage of the World Cup were both matches where they had batting collapses and made less than 100 runs. They play England, one of the teams that did beat them on Wednesday, and they also played England in the last 2 World Cup semi-finals in 2022 and back in 2017 as well, and ended up losing both of those. So there's little bit of a mental hurdle that they need to overcome as well as a performance hurdle. But having listened to some of the Proteas players and the coaching staff speak, they seem very confident that, I mean, they've made it to finals of T20 World Cups in the last 2 editions. And this seems like one team that seems and sounds very confident. And it doesn't seem like that fake plastic energy, the Springboks called it. But it does seem like they're really keen on doing something special this week. And I've heard Tasman Britson this morning in a press conference that she was speaking about that there's a lot more at stake for South African players than for England players, for instance. The future of women's cricket in South Africa can explode if they do well, and they know that that's on their shoulders as well.
Then very quickly, your thoughts on the Grand Prix in Mexico?
Chaotic, like I love it.
Chaotic,
yeah, that was a brilliant start, and also very big and very well done to Lando Norris for managing to hold on to his lead, because a lot of us have spoken for a while that his starts weren't the greatest, and was always something that
literally
trips
said
him
before
up.
the start,
Yeah.
Lando won't be able to pull this off again.
Yeah, I thought so as well. But now he has the lead in the F1 Drivers' Championship with 4 races left in the season, 1 point ahead of Oscar Piastri, 36 ahead of Max Verstappen. It's still all to race for. It's going to be very interesting what happens in Brazil, Qatar, and out in Abu Dhabi coming up this season.
Mwande, thank you so much. Mwande Mateza wrapping up the world of sport for us.
Calling all golf pros. Hollywood Bets invites you to step onto the green. Tee up, take a swing, and enjoy glorious golf action from electrifying competitions and thrilling live tournaments. Get ready to conquer the fairway and chase epic fortunes. Ready to master the odds and experience your crowning moment? Bet now on all the excitement and prepare to make your hole-in-one shot to sensational success. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008.
What you're hearing isn't a traffic accident. It's not panic braking. It's our amazing car-stopping 40th birthday deals. For a limited time only, Auto & General is offering great savings with our 40th birthday Ruby deals. Celebrate with us by visiting autogen.co.za for great personal and business car insurance savings. Auto & General, never not there. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online. Offer available for a limited time only.
702. Mandy Wiener.
Weekdays, 12 to 1 p.m.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I expect the story to watch this afternoon will be the Matlala inquiry that's still underway, or police school, as Joe put it, because we're learning about the ballistics department of the police, how it works, how it is understaffed, how it is under-resourced, and the difficulties that face ballistics experts because of all of these restraints. So Misha Mkabela, the head of ballistics at the SAPS, on the stand there at the Matlala inquiry. The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. Think bigger, think Nedbank Commercial Banking. It's 1 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Second suspect in Broncos Spruit mass shooting arrested, and SAPRA approves new HIV prevention drug. Good afternoon, I'm Mikey Malapo. The second suspect wanted in relation to the mass shooting that claimed 5 lives at a tavern in Spruit earlier this month has been arrested. 6 others sustained injuries after 2 armed men opened fire at a local tavern in Zitobeni Township. One of the